This is Sleeping Nap, where rest is backed by rhythm and reason. Close your eyes. The science of sleep starts now. Let your mind drift beyond the noise into dreams designed by nature. Each moment, your body restores, your mind resets, your breath deepens. Feel safe in the knowledge that sleep is your mind's gentle medicine. Together, we drift towards rest, guided by calm and science alike. You awaken in a quiet hallway made of starlight and polished echoes. The floor beneath you feels less like stone and more like the hush between thoughts. Each step you take doesn't echo so much as ripple, carrying your presence outward into the hallway's hush. Overhead, stars are pinned in perfect lines, constellations rearranged into corridors of possibility. You feel like you've been here before, countless times, yet somehow each time slips away the moment you try to remember it. The air tastes, faintly, of cold metal and distant rain. Though you know no storm could ever find its way here, you stand still for a moment, listening. The walls breathe, or maybe it's you who does, and the hallway only mirrors it back. Polished panels catch bits of your reflection, a shoulder, an eyelash, a flicker of something half-remembered. They shift as you move, refracting versions of you you're certain you've never been. There's one reflection that smiles when you don't, one that lingers a step behind, one that waits with a kindness in its eyes you can't yet name. At the far end of the hallway is the door. You know its shape already, a dark pane edged in liquid light, the frame humming with a promise you've pretended not to hear. So many nights you've walked past it, brushing your fingers along its seam, feeling its quiet thrum in your chest. You always told yourself you'd open it later, when you were ready, when the hallway felt less like a secret you weren't meant to touch. But tonight you are here, and the door is breathing with you, drawing you closer. You reach out, pressing your palm to the cool surface. It softens under your skin, as if it wants to remember you too, for a heartbeat. You wonder what would happen if you turned away again, if you let the hallway swallow your footsteps, and you dissolved back into the hush. But the thought flickers out. The door is already unfolding. You step through, not with certainty, but with the softness of falling into water you can't see the bottom of. On the other side, the air shifts, warm, sweet, laced with something electric. You land not on ground, but on an endless field of glass panels, each one catching your reflection and bending it into new shapes. They tilt as you pass, layering you over yourself, until you can't tell where one version ends and the next begins. Above you, the sky drifts like liquid metal, slow clouds stitched with faint pulses of blue and green. It feels alive, not watching, but waiting. You sense it wants to show you something, though it will never force you to look. You kneel on one of the panels and peer down. Beneath the glass, there are doorways stacked like petals, infinite layers folding in on themselves. If you listen closely, you swear you can hear them breathe too. You move carefully, each step spinning out new corridors below the glass. A version of you, barefoot and laughing, runs past under your feet. Another stands still, head tilted back. Rain dripping from her hair, though no rain touches you here. Another sits cross-legged beside an unopened book, tracing circles on the cover with a fingertip. All of them are you, none of them are you entirely. They're the shimmer caught between your choices, the quantum hush that says you could have turned left instead of right, spoken instead of staying silent, stayed instead of drifting. You press your hand to the glass and feel the thrum of possibility. It vibrates like a heartbeat, like a pulse split into 1,000 threads of light. Somewhere in your chest, something unlocks, a door behind your ribs you'd sealed shut without meaning to. Through it, warmth spills, not enough to flood you, but enough to remind you that you are not singular. You are layered, countless, trembling with maybe. A soft wind drifts through this place, though no trees bend, no grasses rustle. It smells like ozone and dream skin, the way lightning feels just before it touches ground. You follow it, weaving through the mirrored panels, your own face flickering past in a dozen shades of wonder. Each version you glimpse feels like a question. Who would you have been if you'd spoken up that one evening? If you'd left 5 minutes earlier? If you'd never come back? The glass hums under your steps, a choir of what-ifs too soft to hear in waking life. Somewhere deeper in the maze of panels, you find a pool, still, dark, rimmed with faint lines of light. You kneel beside it, peering into its depthless surface. It doesn't show you your face. Instead, it shows you the places you almost stepped, doorways cracked open in dreams you never remembered, a room of blue wind, a street where your laughter echoes off buildings you've never seen, hands you almost held, words you almost spoke. You lean closer, and for a moment the pool flickers, a superposition of every life waiting to unfold if only you'd turn the right handle. You dip your fingers into the pool. The surface breaks into ripples of silver and green, tiny universes collapsing and blooming again under your touch. You wonder if, somewhere, one of you has already stepped through every door, spoken every word you've swallowed. The thought doesn't frighten you. It comforts you, like knowing there's always more to find when you wake up. The pool stills as you draw your hand away. On your fingertip is a bead of light, trembling like a miniature star. You press it gently to your chest, where that inner door swings wider. Warmth spreads through your ribs, filling the hollows you didn't know you were carrying. You stand, breath soft, feeling the whole field beneath you pulse in answer. Far ahead, the panels shift, opening into a path you hadn't noticed before. The air shivers with quiet invitation. You step onto it, glass humming beneath your soles, mirrors folding your shadows into new shapes. Somewhere above, the sky exhales a slow sigh that rustles the edges of all your might-have-beens, and for the first time, you wonder if you're not just here to choose, but to be chosen to. You keep walking, the hum of the panels syncing with the steady beat in your chest. Each step feels like splitting light through a prism, a choice, refracted into colors you can't yet name. Ahead, the path widens, bending gently into a curve of soft dusk. Something waits there. You can feel it, a question you've never dared to ask because you were afraid of its answer. The air thickens, with possibility, tasting of salt and memory. The edges of the hallway you left behind glimmer at the far rim of your mind, but you know you won't turn back. Not now. Not when the glass panels beneath your feet feel like wings folded under skin. You pause, listening. Somewhere in the distance, another door flickers into being, or maybe it was always here, waiting for your footsteps to catch up. Its surface is darker than the first, edges flickering with faint echoes of your reflection. You draw closer, and it leans toward you like a held breath. You stand before it, hand hovering over the seam where the dark meets your skin. The glass under you hums, the pool behind you settles into silence. In the hush, you feel every version of you hold its breath at once. It's not fear. It's something softer, the slow bloom of wonder that maybe the world is bigger than the hallway, bigger than the glass. bigger than you ever dared believe. Your fingertips touch the door, and it opens inward, quiet as a secret. And somewhere ahead, the air starts to hum. The hum threads through you like a pulse, softer than breath, yet charged with something vast. You follow it, stepping forward as the glass underfoot folds into a ribbon of pale light, winding away from the pool you left behind. The panels no longer mirror you as they did. Instead, they ripple gently, shifting with a quiet, secret life of their own. You realize they're no longer reflecting what you are, but what you could be. Each flicker, a path trailing behind your feet like a ghost of motion. The path is narrow at first, a slender corridor of possibility pressed tight to your ankles, but with each step, it widens and splinters at the edges. Tiny hairline cracks branching off, delicate as frost. You glance back and see them spread behind you, countless thin trails unspooling into the dusk. Each one a version of your footsteps breaking away, carrying something you didn't choose. They glow faintly, as if moonlight were caught in the veins of stone dot above. The sky leans closer, heavy with drifting strands of gold and slate. You feel them swirl as if they, too, are paths. Threads of cloud folding round each other, splitting, and rejoining like braids undone in slow motion. Somewhere deep inside you, there's a small tug of longing for every strand you won't touch. The hum grows softer here, but it doesn't fade. It multiplies, layering into chords you can almost feel along your ribs. You pause where the path forks for the first time. One side curves gently toward a grove of dark shapes, half tree, half shadow, flickering with glints of copper light. The other bends downward into a valley lit by a soft, steady glow that pulses in time with your heartbeat. You stand between them, feeling the split press against your skin like warm rain. Part of you wants to step both ways, to fracture and follow each line to its hidden end. But your body chooses without asking. Your feet drift left, toward the grove, and you feel the other path peel away, still warm at your shoulder for a moment before it dissolves into the dark. It doesn't vanish. You sense it, still humming. Parallel to you, a quiet twin you can't hold but can almost reach. The path beneath you tightens again, pulling you forward into the hush of the trees. They aren't trees. Not exactly. More like pillars of memory wrapped in soft bark, branches, that twist into shapes you half recognize. You pass one and see your own hand pressed against its trunk, though you never touch it now. Another flickers with laughter that belongs to you, but is edged with an accent you never learned. They lean inward, tracing a corridor of you could slip into if only you turned your head the right way. The hum grows louder here, thicker, vibrating through the trunks into your bones. It feels like standing inside a cathedral built from whispers and half-formed prayers. You wonder if each tree is a branch of you, if each ring beneath the bark is a year you almost lived, coiled tight and waiting to be counted when you press. Your ear close enough to listen. You step carefully between them, feet brushing soft moss that glows where you tread. In the hush, you hear echoes layered behind the hum, your voice asking different questions, your breath caught on words you never spoke, the sound of your own feet turning on paths that pull away the moment you look back. You reach out, brush, your fingers against a branch, and feel it split again, one edge curving toward the canopy, the other dipping into earth you can't see. A shape appears ahead, faint, flickering, more suggestion than solid form. It stands just beyond the last row of trees, a silhouette wrapped in dusk. You pause, breath soft in your throat, because you know this shape the way you know the echo of your own heartbeat in an empty room. It's you, or another you, or the piece of you that kept walking when you turned back once long ago. It lifts a hand, not beckoning, but reminding you it exists. A gentle promise that you're never alone in your splits. You step closer, and the shape steps back, folding into the shadows behind it. The path spills open again, wider now, branching, in great arcs of glass and moss and pulsing veins of light. Each branch hums with its own note, a chord of futures sung in soft harmony. You stand at the center, your feet planted in all directions at once, feeling your chest crack open with the weight and wonder of so much choice. Far below, the hum deepens, a low current that reminds you of rivers beneath ice. The ground trembles with your heartbeat, or maybe with all your heartbeats layered together, a tangle of pulses stitched through the underworld of what you might yet be. You kneel and touch the path, palm flat, feeling warmth rise into your skin. It feels like touching the surface of a living map, every vein a road, every pulse a fork you haven't met yet. The air shifts, brushing your hair back with a breeze that smells of wet stone and lightning. It brings with it the taste of endings and beginnings, so closely bound they feel the same on your tongue. You stand slowly, gaze trailing along the paths that branch away from you in a fan of glimmering lines. Each one is a door like the first, only smaller, quieter, less a door and more a sigh of an opening. You pick one without knowing why, a narrow track curling left into a field of low silver grass. It feels right only because it feels like a question you'd like to hear answered. The moment your foot touches it, you feel the other paths sigh and drift behind you, not erased, but folded gently out of reach. You carry them still, there. Hum threads through your ribs, a low chorus reminding you that none of this is ever truly lost as you walk. The grass parts under your steps like silk, revealing flashes of soft light beneath the blades. Fireflies of possibility spark at your ankles, tiny universes igniting for a heartbeat before slipping away into the dark. Overhead, the sky cracks open in places, showing glimpses of worlds stacked behind each other like pages in a book you can only read one line at a time. You pause, turning in place. Behind you, the path you chose unfurls like a ribbon, split into thousands of ghostly trails that lean away into the dusk. For a moment, you see them all, each version of you drifting outward like a constellation unspooling into night. The hum deepens, settles into your bones, and you know it will stay with you now. A pulse to remind you that you are never one thing, never finished. You breathe in the hush, the grass, the soft flicker of worlds brushing your fingertips like a promise. Ahead, the path curves again, bending gently into a hollow where the grass glows brighter, whispering secrets you're not meant to hold all at once. You take a step, then another, and feel the ground soften under your feet, folding possibility into each print you leave behind. Farther on, you glimpse the faint shape of another door, darker than the path, edged with a quiet shimmer that hums in time with your own pulse. You move toward it, not because you must, but because you're ready to see where it leads, ready to feel how the world might split again, and somewhere beneath your ribs. 1,000 echoes lean forward to listen. The echoes press closer as you step forward, each footfall sending a hush through the grass that glows at your ankles. The faint door ahead waits like a breath you haven't taken yet. You reach it without knowing how. One heartbeat you're standing in the silver hollow. The next you're pressing your palm against the dark pane. Its sighs open beneath your touch, folding you into something that feels like falling and standing, still all at once. Inside, the world shifts. Gravity loosens its grip and then flips, as if the floor has decided it's tired of carrying your weight. You feel yourself pulled upward, your feet brushing the ceiling that isn't a ceiling at all, but a corridor stretched into a long corridor of shifting light. The walls ripple with faint reflections, though they're not quite yours. They're you, but turned inside out, right hand on the left, heartbeat ticking backward. A soft drift pulls you along. You're floating now, toes skimming a surface that doesn't hold you down. Clocks bloom on the walls like pale flowers, their hands spinning counter to your pulse. Each tick feels like a secret undone. You sense the minutes curling back on themselves, untangling choices you made before you knew they were choices at all. Somewhere inside, your bones remember how it felt to be unshaped, how it feels now to be undone just enough to listen. You drift past a pane of glass set into the corridor's curve. It catches your eye, shimmering with a faint outline of your shape, but mirrored, reversed so perfectly you wonder which of you is more real. This you has a heartbeat that runs counter to yours, eyes that flicker with memories you haven't yet lived. When you raise your hand, it raises the other, fingertips pressing to yours through the cold divide. For a breath, the corridor hums. With your doubled pulse, a soft confirmation that the universe likes its stories told in pairs. The drift carries you deeper. The corridor narrows and widens in turns, folding you through pockets of denser air that feel like swimming through thoughts. You pass other mirrors, smaller, round, fractured at the edges, like ice melting in reverse. Each one holds a piece of you turned back to front, a laugh you haven't yet let go of, a tear caught before it could fall. Words you swallowed now, spoken by your reflection's lips. Up ahead, the corridor opens into a chamber that curves endlessly, like the inside of a glass shell. Gravity twists here. Up is down, down is sideways. You hover near the center, where tiny flecks of silver spin around you like stars caught in a gentle whirlpool. You reach out, catch one on your fingertip, and feel it tug you backward, deeper into yourself. It tastes of static and old songs, a reminder that symmetry doesn't erase chaos, it cradles it, lets it dance until the dance folds back on itself. In this hollow, you begin to sense the hidden rules that keep the split world balanced. For every particle drifting right, another drifts left. For every word you spoke in anger, somewhere in this mirrored hush it softens into kindness. You can almost hear it now, the hum of the paired universes leaning against each other, keeping the hush from cracking open under the weight of too many possibilities. You close your eyes and let the spin carry you. In the hush, you feel your pulse slip its tether from forward time, drifting backward, each heartbeat echoing into the places you left behind. You sense yourself at 6 years old, at 17, at 23, not memories, but living threads you brush with your minds. Fingertips. The corridor folds around you like a gentle shell, holding you where gravity loses interest and time unwinds its tight braid. You open your eyes. The chamber's walls are slick with reflections you can't count, for each version of you drifting. In the mirrored skin, there's another on the far side, echoing your shape but spun in reverse. Some look older than you are now, others younger or softer or braver in ways you only dreamed about. They watch you as you watch them, each of you suspended in this breathless place where balance holds chaos in its cupped hands. Slowly, you drift closer to the far wall where the reflections gather thicker, stacking over each other like leaves pressed between glass. Your fingertips brush the smooth surface, and for a heartbeat the mirror breathes back. You glimpse the shape of a world not yet unfolded, rivers flowing upward into rain clouds that birth them, stars collapsing back into seeds of themselves, a laugh caught in your throat before it's ever formed. It feels right, not because it makes sense, but because it doesn't have to. The chamber shifts as if sighing under your weight. Tiny threads of light spool from the mirrors, wrapping your wrist in soft loops of backward time. They don't bind you, they remind you. For every step forward there's a drift back. For every heartbeat pushing you on, another tugs you gently to pause. You sense it now, the secret you'd nearly forgotten. Nature doesn't crave stillness. It craves balance, the push, the pull, the tilt that keeps the spin from dissolving into nothing. You push off the mirrored wall, drifting back toward the center. The flecks of silver gather in your wake, clinging to your hair, your fingertips. Your breath, each one a particle mirrored in a world you'll never quite hold, but will always feel in the hush behind your ribs. The corridor waits at the far curve of the chamber, its edges flickering like a soft question you're meant to answer with your feet. As you drift closer, the chamber folds behind you. The spin settles into a hush, leaving only the hum of your heartbeat, forward now, backward now, both at once. You touch the corridor's threshold and feel gravity curl again, pulling you down and up and through. The mirrored use recede into the polished skin of the walls, carrying pieces of you you're glad to leave behind, pieces you know will never truly be gone. One last glance over your shoulder shows the chamber folding tighter, silver flecks blinking out like candle flames in a steady wind. You step across the seam, and gravity releases you into a softness you've almost learnt to trust. Ahead, the corridor bends gently, splitting into a ribbon of pale dark that hums with new questions you can almost taste on your tongue. You stand there for a moment, listening to the hush inside your chest where the echoes still lean forward, to hear what comes next. You know now that forward and backward are only two sides of the same hush, and somewhere in that hush, balance holds its breath, and just ahead, something begins to stir a shiver at first, a ripple stitched through. The air so faint you wonder if you've only imagined it. You stand at the edge of the corridor, breath caught between your ribs, feeling the space around you hum with a presence you can't name yet. The ground beneath your feet softens, folds inward like the surface of deep water when a stone slips. Through, somewhere above, the sky unfurls, a sheet of silk drawn tight, then loosened by invisible hands. You step forward, and the corridor releases you into a clearing so wide it feels like a held breath. The sky arches impossibly high, swaying with shifting colors, bruised violets, ghosted silver, hints of dark rose. It trembles when you look at it, as though your gaze alone might leave fingerprints in its weave. You lift a hand and feel warmth spill across your palm, but the warmth doesn't belong to you. It comes from something brushing just beyond the reach of your skin. The air thickens around your ankles, a hush pressing against your calves like the tide pulling back before it returns. You know, somehow, that the world you stand in is not alone. There's another, drifting close, not touching, but near enough that the skin of this sky remembers the shape of its neighbor. You tilt your head and listen, waiting for proof. And there, beneath the hum, you hear it. A second hush layered over the first, slightly out of step, as if two heartbeats were trying to echo in the same chest. Above you, the sky ripples again, wide arcs of shimmering folds spreading outward like a drum skin struck by sound alone. The colors pulse, as they shift threads of indigo pulled thin by something brushing past from the other side. You step into the clearing's center and feel it deep inside you now. The gentle press of another universe passing close. Its presence, tugging at the edges of yours like a forgotten dream brushing your eyelids before dawn. You wonder if it knows you're here, if it feels your breath pushing back against its drifting tide. The clearing hums in answer. The grass at your feet glows in small pulses, a soft Morse code you can't yet read. You kneel and press your fingertips to the earth, and warmth answers you, blooming up through your skin in tiny vibrations. The warmth is not yours alone. It carries the hush of the other world passing by. Its gravity bending the skin of your own universe, just enough to say, I am here too, when you stand again. The sky feels closer, the ripples clearer now, like silk brushed by wind that never quite becomes a storm. You realize you're watching the fabric of where you stretch and shift, pulled by the ghost touch of the place beside it. Two brains drifting, so close they almost collide, yet always slipping by without fusing completely. You wonder if that's how loneliness feels for a universe, brushing shoulders with another, but never merging fully, never crossing the thin veil that keeps the echoes separate. The thought sinks into your bones as the clearing flickers. For a moment, the ground beneath your feet is not grass, but a sheet of soft metal, vibrating with the hum of distant tides. Shapes bloom at the edges, flickers of another world's trees, bending in the hush, rivers threading backward through unseen canyons. You glimpse figures too, for a heartbeat only, shadows that move like yours, but flicker just out of reach, as though they too are waiting to see if the veil might thin enough for touch. You step toward the edge, drawn by the flickers. The air cools as you move, each breath tasting like static before a summer storm. The clearing tilts under your weight, and you feel the pull of gravity bending sideways. Not enough to unbalance you, but enough to remind you that your world is not fixed. Another shiver rolls through the sky, and the veil between here and there shudders, folds, then smooths again. You stand at the rim of the clearing now, toes brushing the line where your world meets its echo. The grass here hums louder, blades flickering with tiny pulses of blue light. You reach out, palm up, hoping to catch the shimmer, the hush, the weight of something brushing by that might remember your shape. For a heartbeat, the air warms against your skin, a gentle touch that feels like an apology or a promise. You close your eyes and lean into it, letting the fabric of the sky ripple over your shoulders, your back, your hair. Inside your chest, you sense your heartbeat sync with the hush beyond. It feels like being cradled in the space between two mirrors, each one holding an image that is almost the same, yet slightly wrong, slightly right, perfectly different in ways you can't explain but feel all the way down to your ribs. A breeze sweeps through the clearing, stirring the grass into soft spirals. You open your eyes and watch the sky breathe with you, its silk folds dipping closer with each inhale. You swear you see a shape moving behind the ripple, a curve of land that matches your clearing, a tree bent the same way but crowned with leaves that glow from within. For a moment, the fabric between worlds thins enough to see that you're not alone in standing here, waiting. You take a slow step forward, though you know you can't pass through. Not yet, maybe not ever, but something changes as your foot presses the grass. The ripple above you deepens, bends, sending faint waves of warmth down your spine. You understand then that the universes breathe each other into being, that somewhere beyond your reach, Another you stands at the edge of a clearing just like this, hand lifted, listening for your hush in the echo. The sky above you shivers. One last time, silk folding back into stillness. The warmth recedes, but lingers faintly at your fingertips. A reminder stitched into your skin that even here, inside a world that feels both infinite and so terribly alone, you are never untouched by what drifts close enough to brush your edges. You breathe out and feel the hush settle deep inside your ribs, a quiet echo for the hush that drifts just beyond. Behind you, the clearing sighs, the grass folding soft under your feet as you turn back toward the path that waits another ribbon of light unspooling into the distance, humming with the faint promise that the veil between here and there is thinner than you ever believed. You step onto it, carrying the warmth pressed to your palm like a secret, and somewhere far above, the fabric ripples once more, as if the sky itself were holding its breath to see what you do next, to take that breath into your chest, carrying the hush with you as you step forward. The path beneath your feet is soft now, no longer glass or silk, but something like damp moss that remembers every step and forgets it at the same time. The light shifts around you, brushing your shoulders with gentle warmth as if guiding you deeper into the hush you've begun to trust. A bend in the path reveals an archway formed from branches so dark they almost drink the light. Tiny pulses of color flicker along their bark, pinks and blues and the faintest green, blinking like quiet stars trapped inside wood. You pause beneath it, sensing that to pass through is not simply to cross a threshold, but to agree to be changed by what waits beyond. You breathe out, step forward, and the branches part just enough to let you slip through. On the other side, the world opens into a garden that feels endless but close enough to cup in your palms. Petals unfurl around you, wide as your outstretched hands, each one trembling with a glow that shifts when you watch it too long. Some flowers close as you approach, folding their light inward like secrets they're not ready to share. You kneel beside one, a bloom the color of dusk just before it swallows the last gold of day. Its center flickers with tiny threads of light that twist and split, braiding and unbraiding faster than you can follow. You reach out and almost touch it, but the air hums with a warning you don't quite hear, so you hold your hand just above the petals, feeling their warmth like a breath on your skin. You sense that inside this flower lives a version of you who almost stayed, almost turned back, almost chose silence instead of a word that changed everything. You rise and step deeper into the garden, your feet brushing over low vines that curl and uncurl as if startled awake. Everywhere you look, more blossoms open, shades of coral, silver, deep violet that swallows starlight whole. Each one hums at a frequency too soft to catch, but felt deep inside your chest. You know, without knowing how, that each flower holds an unmade choice, a path so delicate it could never stand on its own, but here finds roots in the hush of your almost. You pause beside a cluster of pale blooms that sway even without wind. One leans toward you, and in its petals you glimpse a flicker of a door you never opened, a word you never spoke aloud, a love you almost reached for but let drift away instead. It doesn't ache the way you thought it might. Instead, it settles inside you like the hush of snowfall on branches that remember spring is waiting somewhere underneath. You wander slowly, weaving through this orchard of your half-lived futures. Sometimes you catch a glimpse of yourself reflected in the curve of a petal, older or younger, or unchanged but softened in ways that make your chest tighten with a gentle ache. You reach out to another flower, and sense it drift slightly away from your touch, as if reminding you that these paths are not yours to pluck back into being. They are seeds that never rooted, yet here they bloom for you alone. The air hums thicker now, a quiet tide moving through leaves that shimmer with a hidden current. You realize that even here, possibility has weight. It bends the hush around. It pulls you toward the center, where the garden's pulse feels strongest. You follow without thinking, your breath sinking to the soft flicker that guides you deeper until you find yourself standing before a single tree rising from the middle of all this trembling bloom. The tree's bark is slick with shadow and light. All at once, its branches stitched with tiny blossoms that flicker in and out like fireflies caught in slow motion. At its roots, the flowers grow denser, petals pressed close as if gathering warmth from the trunk's quiet heartbeat. You kneel and rest your palm on the soil, feeling the tug beneath the gravity of everything that might have been pulling gently at your bones. It does not want you to stay. It does not want you to leave. It simply wants to be remembered. You close your eyes and lean forward until your forehead brushes the bark. A pulse slips into you, not memory, but a hush of all you almost were, the weight of 1,000 tiny worlds that balanced on the edge of your breath before falling back into the dark. You sense the decoherence then, the way each choice untangled from its shadow, the way each possibility collapsed softly into the single life you call your own. It should feel like loss, but here, with the flowers blooming soft around your knees, it feels like permission. You pull back slowly, pressing your palm to the tree one last time. The bark feels warm now, and the blossoms tremble as if to tell you they understand. You stand and look up through its branches, where the sky beyond shivers with drifting motes of light. For a moment, you swear you see all the flowers lift their faces toward you, tiny suns opening wide enough to remind you that what you chose does not erase what you almost did. You step back from the tree and the garden hushes around you. The path appears again, winding away through petals that brush your ankles like soft farewells. You know you can't take the flowers with you, but you feel them settle in your chest. A garden blooming behind your ribs, each blossom humming, its own gentle weight that tethers you to every almost you've ever carried. You move toward the archway, passing beneath branches that curl closed behind you as if sealing the garden's hush inside your pulse. The mossy path greets your steps, carrying you forward through the hush that tastes now of both roots and wings. The air hums in answer, a soft reminder that even the smallest unchosen path can shape the world you still get to touch. And somewhere, ahead, the hush thickens again, a gentle gravity that waits for you to lean closer. You do. You lean in, carried by a hush so dense it folds the path beneath you into something weightless. Your next step doesn't land on moss or earth, but on a surface so soft it gives way, like warm water under your feet. For a moment, you hover, caught between falling and floating, until the world tilts and you are drifting into something vast enough to forget your own shape. The hush becomes a tide. It carries you forward, no shore in sight, just an endless swell of dark that glows faintly. Where your breath touches it, you tilt your head back and realize the sky has dissolved, or maybe it has drowned, leaving only this endless ocean of soft darkness, above, below, within. You are weightless now, your arms spread as if they remember wings. Tiny lights flicker in the dark around you. At first you think they're stars, but then one drifts so close, you see its skin shimmer like a soap bubble, translucent, trembling with colors you almost recognize. It spins away before you can touch it, drifting deeper into the hush as others gather, thousands upon thousands. Each sphere a world tucked inside a thin skin of possibility. You reach out again, and your hand passes through the edge of a bubble so warm it tingles up your wrist. Inside, shapes twist and shift, countenance drifting like thoughts, oceans swirling in impossible colors, storms blooming like bruises on a sleeping creature's back. You sense the laws inside are not your own. Time bends differently here. Gravity pulls at angles that would break your bones if you tried to stand. You drift on, carried by the hush that now feels like a current under your ribs. Bubbles gather closer, pressing soft against your shoulders, your knees, your drifting fingertips. Some glow with a steady pulse like a heartbeat. Others are nearly invisible until they catch the hush's subtle light, revealing worlds so quiet. You wonder if they ever knew the word noise. Above you, or maybe below, you can't tell anymore. A massive sphere drifts into view. Its surface ripples like a drop of water stretched too thin to hold its shape. For a breath, it brushes against the bubble you float within, and the contact sends ripples through the hush, a soft thunder that rolls through your bones. You feel how these universes touch, how they collide and slip apart without shattering, like tides that forget they were ever separate. You twist your body and dive gently, letting the current pull you deeper. More bubbles drift by, some so small you barely see them, others so vast you sense entire galaxies breathing inside. You pass one that flickers with blue fire along its edges, a world forever caught in a storm of its own making. Another drifts by so dark it swallows the hush around it, a sphere of near silence that hums in a frequency that finds your teeth and makes them ache. You reach out again, fingertip brushing a bubble that pops at your touch, not with a sound, but with a sudden exhale that folds into you, leaving the hush heavier and sweeter at the same time. You understand now that the ocean you drift through is not an ocean at all, but a sea of boundaries and births. A quiet inflation that never truly stops expanding. Each bubble spins its own story, a soft defiance against the nothing that always waits to swallow it back. For a moment, you hold your breath, listening to the soft roar beneath the hush, the way the bubbles push outward, making room for more. For you, for all your possible shadows. You realize you have not left your own bubble behind. You carry it with you still, its thin skin stitched to your heartbeat, fragile and resilient all at once. Somewhere inside it, the garden still hums, the mirrored corridors still wait. The door still remembers the hush of your first step. You turn your face into the drift and let the current lift you higher. Bubbles clustered thickly here, pressing close like fish gathering round a lantern's glow. Some graze each other, merging for a heartbeat before slipping apart again, tiny. Universes testing the seam where their laws might blur, might share, might dissolve together into something new. You sense the danger of it, the beauty to a fragile truce in this soft ocean, where everything expands, drifts, and dreams of touching. One bubble, larger than the rest, drifts so close, you see its skin ripple with storms, the size of cities. You drift beside it, palm out, feeling its gravity tug at the hush inside you. You want to see inside, to know what dreams live in that storm light, but the current keeps you just far enough away that it remains a whisper, a shape glimpsed through. Fog. You wonder how many times you've brushed another world and felt only a shiver you mistook for your own heartbeat. Your limbs move without asking, a soft swim through the hush, each stroke pushing you deeper into the press of the bubbles. You pass a sphere where colors shift like spilled oil forests, that glow under lavender suns. Oceans so dense, they hold islands aloft like petals on water. You drift close enough to catch your reflection in its surface, your face doubled and bent by its skin. A reminder that even here you are both inside and outside the dream. You pause, suspended in the hush as bubbles drift by on every side. Some spin fast enough you hear their hum, others drift so slowly they seem pinned in place by nothing but your wanting to reach them. You sense how all this drift is a kind of language, the ocean saying, "I will hold you, but you will never stay." A tide of universes forever breathing each other into and out of being. Somewhere in this hush, you realize the ocean is not infinite because it needs to be. It is infinite because it cannot be otherwise. Each bubble born from another, pushing outward, a quiet defiance of collapse. You close your eyes and let your body drift limp, trusting the current to hold you afloat. You feel your bubble pressed warm against your chest, feel it drift and breathe with you, a hush stitched tight. To your ribs, when you open your eyes again, the bubbles scatter in the distance like seeds on the wind. The hush thickens once more, folding you into the warm dark as if the ocean itself were tucking you in, whispering that you do not drift alone. A soft pulse shivers through the current, and somewhere ahead, the hush parts just enough for a flicker of light to beckon you on, and you drift toward it, weightless. The ocean breathing you forward through the dream of its endless, expanding the hush parts just enough for the light to find you. It's not bright, more like the soft pulse of something alive, waiting. You feel it before you see it clearly. A single strand of light, finer than hair, drifting in the dark like a line of silk spun by some hidden creature that remembers where you've been and knows where you're meant to go. You reach out because that's all you can do. Fingers brushing the thread so lightly it should slip through, but it doesn't. Instead, it clings, humming under your skin in a way that feels both alien and achingly familiar. When you try to pull away, it tugs back, so gentle it might be a breath, a whisper, a promise that somewhere at the other end, someone or something is holding on just as softly. You turn in the dark, feeling the ocean's hush press closer as if listening. The strand glows brighter now where it winds around your wrist, a loop that feels alive, warm against the cold drift of the void. You follow it without asking where it leads, each small tug guiding you deeper through the shadows, your feet brushing against currents that shiver with hidden tides. The bubbles drift past you still, universes sealed inside themselves, but the thread does not lead you into them. It weaves between, beneath, above, through places where light folds in on itself like memory, half remembered. You think of the garden then, the flowers of almost choices blooming behind your ribs, and wonder if this strand is the route that runs through them all, binding the pieces you've left behind. A pulse travels down the thread, not sight or sound, but a feeling that slides through your bones. For a heartbeat, you're not alone. You feel it, a tug on the other end, equal and opposite, like hands pressed against glass from both sides at once. You wonder who it is, or what, or if it's you, some echo split off when you passed through. The door you almost forgot. The hush deepens. Ahead, the darkness thickens into something like mist, soft and shifting, hiding shapes that flicker just out of reach. The thread hums at your wrist, pulling you through. You step inside the mist and feel it curl around your throat, cool and damp like breath that isn't yours. Shadows drift closer, but they don't touch you. They bend around the thread instead, parting as if it wards them off with its glow. You pause where the mist folds in on itself and see it, another strand, thin and trembling, drifting from the dark to meet yours. They touch like fingertips, sparking where they kiss, then weave together so seamlessly it's as if they were always one. The pulse surges through you, down your arm and deeper, folding into your chest until your own pulse echoes back in perfect time. Somewhere you sense the other end. A heartbeat you know but can't name, not separate from you, not fully yours either. A twin flame, a shadow self, a thought that never left. You close your eyes and feel it pull, not away but inward. A tug that says, I am here. I am you. I am the hush that binds your pieces when the dark tries to swallow them whole. When you open your eyes, the mist clears enough to show you flickers of what waits on the other side of the strand. You catch glimpses, a hand mirroring yours, open and reaching. A face you can't see but sense as an echo behind your eyes. A memory of laughter you've never heard but feel all the same. The strand glows brighter, braiding around your wrist like a promise that can't be broken by distance or the hush of drifting tides. You want to call out a name, maybe, or a question, but the ocean swallows sound before it leaves your mouth. Instead, the thread hums louder, as if answering what you couldn't say. It tightens just enough to remind you it's real, that something, someone, tugs back. The hush around you shifts with it, folding in like velvet drawn close on a cold night. You drift again, carried by the pulse that moves through the thread. The bubbles fall away behind you, the ocean's currents folding you deeper into the dark, that no longer feels empty. You sense how this strand runs through everything, the door, the mirrors, the gardens, soft almost, an entanglement that laughs at distance, that refuses to forget the shape of your heartbeat even when you drift. So far you forget it yourself. A flicker ahead catches your eye, a shape carved from the hush, standing where the thread leads. It waits without moving, a soft halo around it where the dark breathes slower, quieter. The pulse in the strand quickens, matched by the flutter in your chest that tells you you're close now. Close enough that the hush holds its breath again, to see if you'll reach for what waits. You take a step, then another, the ocean parting in small shivers around your ankles. The shape stays still, yet you feel it lean closer, just enough to remind you that the bond holds both ways. You wonder if the tug you feel is your own wanting or theirs, or if, here, there's no difference at all. The strand hums warm against your wrist, its glow curling up your arm like soft firelight. The shape ahead lifts a hand, or maybe it's your hand mirrored back at you from another side you can't see yet. The hush trembles around it, waiting for the distance to fold in, for the thread to tighten one last time. You reach out, feeling the strand pulse between you and somewhere. In the dark, the space between you begins to close. The hush breathes with you, carrying your heartbeat across the strand like a secret stitched into starlight. And just before your fingers touch, the dark flickers, as if reminding you this was never just your story to hold alone. The flicker unravels around your wrist, loosening the glowing thread into strands of light that drift ahead like fireflies searching for somewhere to land. You watch them scatter into the hush, and as they fade, something behind the dark stirs open. A door without edges, a threshold carved from silence itself. You step forward because the hush leans back to let you through. The air shifts, dense and soft, as pages turned in an endless night. A faint scent rises, old paper warmed by hidden lamps, ink that still dries, stories breathing in real time. Ahead, The dark thickens into walls lined with shelves, so high they vanish into the hush above your head. You stand in the archive, and it stands in you, a place that feels older than your bones, but still unfinished, still writing itself with every breath you take. The first shelf you pass holds a row of books with covers soft as skin, spines stitched in threads that hum faintly when your fingertips brush them. You pause at the nearest one and see your name, not printed, but pulsing just beneath the surface. Alive, rewriting itself every second. When you open it, the pages flutter on their own. Lines of ink crawling across parchment as if the story can't stand still. You glimpse pieces of you scattered in sentences. A laugh you gave a stranger, a secret you whispered in a dark room when no one was listening. Some pages are dense, crowded with paragraphs that fight for breath. Others hold only a single word, trembling in the margin like a heartbeat that never learned how to steady itself. You close the book, and its hum settles back into your palm like a cat curling to sleep. Along the next shelf, other books glow faintly, their titles shifting when you blink. Some spines are thick as bricks, too heavy with time to lift. Others are so thin they look like breath caught in paper, half-finished stories that never found an ending before dissolving back into the hush. As you drift deeper into the aisles, the hush bends around you like a tide. You sense that every shelf holds another corridor, another strand of time unfurling in silence. You pass a ladder reaching toward a ceiling you can't see, rungs carved from dark wood that gleams with fingerprints of someone who climbed it long before you arrived. At the next aisle, you find an open book resting on a pedestal. Its pages flutter backward as you approach, words unspooling in reverse, laughter swallowed, footsteps retreating, promises unmade. You realize the book is unwriting itself, memory, sliding back into the hush like water seeping under a closed door. You lean closer and the ink lifts off the page in small whirls, drifting into the air before vanishing completely. A flicker catches your eye. High on a shelf sits a book so dark it almost eats the lamplight around it. Its cover is cold under your fingertips, and when you open it, no ink spills across the page. Instead, the paper glimmers faintly with a residue of what could have been a story too entropic to hold its shape. You sense that somewhere, once, this life almost unfolded, but time's currents folded it back into the hush before it found breath enough to speak. You walk on, the archive shifts under your feet. Aisles rearrange themselves in soft clicks and sighs. Books whisper closed behind you. Others open as you pass, showing you glimpses you can't hold for long. A version of you that never left a certain city. Another who learned the names of all the stars instead of forgetting them one by one. You feel each version tug at your ribs, threads of memory looping through your spine, stitching you to yourself in 100 small ways you never chose and can't undo. You pause at a shelf marked only by a thin ribbon of gold. Here, the books are sealed with wax, warm to the touch. You sense they are lives that never found time enough to begin. Stories locked behind doors no hand has yet dared to open. You rest your palm on one cover and feel a small warmth bloom back, as if the story inside recognizes you, still waiting for its first word. Deeper in the archive, the hush grows heavier, pressing soft against your temples. You find a table scattered with pages torn loose from their bindings, drifting like leaves on a slow current. You catch one between your fingers and see your own handwriting, curved and unsure, spelling out a single line you don't remember. Writing, "Time is not a river, but a field we wander through in all directions at once. You fold the page and slip it into your pocket, though you know it will dissolve into the hush before you wake. Still, the idea hums against your hip like a tiny pulse of knowing, a promise that time doesn't close behind you, but fans out in endless sheets, some still blank, some bleeding at the edges, where forgetting and remembering tangled together. The archive breathes with you now, its hush stitched tight to your ribs. Shelves rise and fold back, parting for your steps. You pass a window that shouldn't exist here, a narrow pane of glass flickering with storms outside, flashes of worlds. Unmade, their rain falling upward, their lightning blooming backwards through the hush. At the far end of an aisle, you find a door you almost missed. It isn't marked. No shelves stand beside it. No pages drift near. Just a single handle, warm under your palm, humming like the spine of the first book you touched. You know somehow that this door does not open onto another story, but into the hush itself, the moment between pages where ink decides whether to flow forward or backward, whether to become word or vanish, as if it never dreamed of being written. You rest your forehead against the door, feeling the hush gather on the other side like a held breath. Somewhere deep in the archive, the books flutter all at once, lives whispering, ink shifting, pages turning toward you as if to say, you are the story still being written. And just before you lift the handle, the hush leans closer, as if the next page is waiting to open. Your palm pushes through the hush, the door's warmth giving way to a cool breath that slips over your skin like shadow. When the latch yields, the archive sighs behind you, closing itself into silence. Ahead, the world unfolds without light to catch its edges, a vastness where the sky should be but isn't, a canvas stretched too tight to hold even a single flame dot. You step forward and feel the darkness gather under your feet, not empty but thick, textured like velvet folded endless times. There is no sun here to warm your shoulders, no stars to blink their secrets from unimaginable distances. Yet you feel watched all the same, a sense that the dark itself holds its breath, humming with the promise of what never found the spark to burn. Your hands float out from your sides, fingertips brushing currents you can't see but sense in your bones. Each step presses deeper into a world that remembers how to cradle light, but never learned how to ignite it. A cold wind slips around your wrists, carrying no scent of bloom or decay, only the raw hush of things that stayed unborn. Somewhere behind your ribs, an ache opens, a soft pull toward the warmth you left behind. But here there is no warmth, only the whisper that not all possibility wears the mask of fire. You pause where the ground dips, the dark folding under itself like fabric drawn into a well. In that hollow, something pulses, not bright enough to see, but felt the way a memory flickers behind closed eyes. You kneel because the hush asks you to listen. When your palm meets the ground, it shivers back, not cold, not warm, only waiting. You sense it, particles drifting without purpose, matter that never curled tight enough to spark fusion. A universe built to cradle stars, yet choosing silence instead. And still, in its hush, there's a softness that feels like an invitation. You imagine a star blooming here, hydrogen clasping hydrogen until heat blossoms from nothing. But the dark holds steady, unburned. You wonder if somewhere beyond the hush, another you stands in a sky so crowded with fire that the dark never learned how to speak. You wonder if they envy this silence. You kneel in now. Rising, you breathe out and watch your breath vanish before you feel it touch the air. No sparkle catches it, no glow reflects it back. Still, the hush ripples, a subtle nod that your presence stirs it. That absence listens even when it has no face to show you. You drift farther into the dark, each step like stepping through. Silk drawn tight between dimensions. Shapes loom, not stars, not planets, only dense pockets of maybe. You sense them gravity, caught in its own throat, waiting for heat that never came. You run your fingers through a swirl of near matter and feel it shiver into non-existence before it remembers how to cling. You think of the fine lines that hold worlds together, the balances so fragile they might tilt with a breath, a single quark spinning a fraction too fast. Here, the balance never found its tipping point. Here, the constants that stitch reality together paused just shy of enough. And so, no dawn, no dusk, no flicker to scatter the hush dot. But in this quiet, you feel something else, the pulse of what could have been. It hums through you like a distant bell struck in a church that never stood. The ache behind your ribs shifts into wonder, a soft understanding that what didn't spark still sings in its own way. An unlit lantern holding the shape of flame, you pause where the hush gathers thickest, a hollow where the dark curls in on itself, almost warm from the friction of its own potential. You press your palm into it and feel the weight of all that never flared into being. The weight is gentle, not heavy, like a blanket pulled around you by hands you almost remember. Hands that remind you that sometimes the most delicate force is the one that chooses not to burn. You listen deeper and hear it, a low hum beneath the hush, a vibration like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant that dreams of light but keeps dreaming. Instead of waking, the air tightens around you, not to trap you but to remind you that you are here, that your breath threads through this unlit field like a single match unstruck. You think of the worlds you've passed, oceans blooming with bubbles of reality, gardens of choices that once leaned toward flame. Here, the flame stayed coiled inside the matchstick, patient. You wonder if this hush is not emptiness, but shelter, a cradle for what might yet be, or might always choose to stay curled inside its own silence. Your feet brush something smooth. Under the dark, you reach down and find a shard of glass, cold as space, clear as water that never learned to reflect. When you hold it up, it catches nothing, yet you sense its edges bending the hush, shaping it in ways your eyes can't see. But your bones remember. You slip it into your pocket beside the page you took from the archive, weightless souvenirs of what the world holds when it holds nothing at all around you. The dark stirs again, softer now, brushing your skin like breath through a keyhole. You lift your chin and sense it ripple above the endless roof where stars should hang. In this hush, your heartbeat becomes the only point of light, not seen but felt, not shining but alive all the same. You close your eyes and hear it, your own pulse folded into the hush, echoing off the silence that made room for it. A quiet promise that sometimes the world does not burn because it remembers that burning is not the only way to shine. You take another step into the hush and feel it lean back, opening wider, as if absence itself might guide you towards something waiting far beyond this dark and somewhere ahead. The silence shifts again, the hush breathing you toward the next place where maybe waits for you to listen. You lean forward into that hush, its edge trembling like a thin screen between worlds. Your breath catches on it, a pulse skipping, a heartbeat slipping out of rhythm, and for a moment the silence echoes your own shape back at you. But something in it is wrong, or right in a way you've never felt before. The air hums around you, charged, waiting. When you step through, the ground feels familiar under your feet, but you can't remember ever standing here. A corridor appears, lined with walls that flicker like old film reels left too long in the sun. You reach out and your fingers brush the wall. It shivers, pixelated edges resolving, then breaking apart again. You watch the seam glitch and reform, your touch both inside it and outside at once. You lift your hand to your face and see your own skin goes through itself. A shimmer of you layered over another you, half a second ahead. It's the same feeling you get when you swear you've said these words before, breathed this breath before. But now the echo isn't inside your mind. It's in the air, rippling out from you like a skipped stone, repeating across water. A whisper curls through you. Maybe time here is thin, a fold that forgot how to stay smooth. Maybe this corridor is a wound in the fabric of now, letting seconds spill through like light through cracked glass. You walk and the walls change. Shadows flicker like memories half ears, rewriting themselves before you can pin them down. You glimpse doorways that open and close without hinges. Behind one, you catch sight of yourself standing very still, eyes closed, mouth shaping a question you almost hear but don't. You keep moving. Another door, another version of you, running this time. Hair lifting as if caught in wind that doesn't exist here. Something ancient flickers behind your eyes, an echo that doesn't belong to this body alone. It feels like you've been here before, but not in this life. A ripple of other use brushing against your bones, their footprints pressed into your marrow. You close your eyes and see them layered over you like translucent sheets of thought. A hum rises under your feet, a sound so low it feels like your blood remembering an older beat. You pause by a wall that's more window than barrier. Beyond it, darkness studded with tiny flashes, like fireflies stuck in a jar of time. Each blink is a moment that slipped, repeating itself because the world forgot to hold it still. You lean closer and the glass flickers. For a heartbeat, you're on the other side, a street you remember but can't place. Rain pooling at your ankles, neon signs stuttering above your head. Then you're back in the corridor, breathless. Palms slick as if you'd really touched that rain. Your tongue tastes iron, static, something like old wires sparking behind your teeth. You keep moving because the hush pushes you gently from behind, urging you deeper. The hum grows louder. It vibrates through your ribs like an old machine, trying to wake up. You sense the walls listening, the corridor itself aware that you're here to see something you're not meant to see. A secret that hides by repeating itself until you stop believing it's real. You think of a program glitching code, looping on itself until the whole system stutters. Maybe this place is a thought that forgot how to end. Maybe you're a line of code rewritten each time you step forward. You brush your fingertips over your pulse, half wondering if it's still yours. Ahead, the corridor narrows, walls flickering faster now, frames skipping. You feel dizzy, but not in your head. It's your timeline that tilts, your sequence that bends. You reach for the wall again, but your hand passes through, slides inside the flicker, finds warmth. For a second, you feel another heartbeat there, layered over yours like a secret handshake across dimensions. A doorway blooms out of nowhere. No door, just an opening, rimmed with that same stuttering light. You stand at its edge and see yourself. On the other side again, older or younger, you can't tell. This other you watches you back with eyes that know the glitch, eyes that forgive it. You wonder if you'll remember this moment later, or if it will fold back on itself like an unfinished thought. You step through. The air shifts warm now, thick like a room full of breath held too long. The hum dims, but you still feel it inside your teeth, a gentle vibration that says, "You are here, you are here, you are here," even if here forgets its own name. Sometimes you stand still until your own shadow catches up, slips back into your skin with a sigh. The corridor behind you flickers out, a curtain drawn over a stage that no longer needs you to perform. Ahead, the hush waits, the same hush that carried you here. Still humming softly in the glitching now, you let your fingertips drift over your chest, feeling the place where the loop still buzzes, where the déjà vu curls up like a cat in your ribs. You wonder if you'll find the edge of it someday, or if you'll just keep folding through versions of yourself, until you learn how to breathe in more than one world at once. And somewhere up ahead, the hush shifts again, as if the next glitch is already waiting for you to slip through. It seems you lean into that hush as it folds you inward, smoothing the static edges of your thoughts until you feel soft again, porous at the seams. The air here does not glow or flicker. It hums in a darker way, a breath you can't see but feels settling on your shoulders like a hidden hand. You drift forward, drawn by nothing visible, yet tugged all the same with each step. You notice how the space around you resists and yields. It's like walking through a thought that doesn't want to be named. The ground is gone, or maybe it was never here, but you do not fall. Instead, you float inside a texture of silence, so thick it seems woven with gravity you can't measure. Something vast shapes your drifting body, shepherding you along a path you cannot see. You stretch out your arms, hoping to catch a glimpse of what holds you, but your fingers close around emptiness. Still, you feel the pressure in your palms, gentle and constant, like the hush wants to remind you that you are never truly untethered. You move because something moves you, adrift guided by the weight of unseen things. Somewhere in this dark, a memory stirs. You standing in a room years ago, light pouring through curtains, dust motes dancing like tiny hidden worlds. You remember the way you waved your hand through them, feeling nothing but shifting them all the same. Here, the hush is the same invisible matter, pressing close, shaping the shape you take. You wonder if the dark has a mind of its own, if it knows your edges better than you do. Maybe you are less solid than you think, a cluster of whispers, in the shape of a body moved by currents no eye can follow. You drift sideways, then forward again, the hush carrying you like a river carries leaves under moonlight. A sudden pulse brushes your ribs. Something shifts near you, enormous and silent, like a whale drifting through the deep. You feel its passage in the subtle tug behind your sternum, a weight that doesn't touch yet holds you just the same. You breathe out slowly, hoping to catch it in the corner of your mind, but the shape is gone before your breath is empty. Dark matter, you think, words echoing like an old lullaby you half remember. The hush hums its agreement, though it gives you no image, no proof. Just this invisible cradle, this pressure that pins you softly in place while letting you drift forever. You realize how much of you depends on what you can't see. Gravity that holds galaxies together, forces that make you whole. It comforts you in a way you didn't expect, this unseen closeness, the idea that most of what exists has no need to be seen to matter. You feel your pulse align with the hush, your ribs expanding to hold more of what you'll never name. It makes you wonder how many secrets live inside your bones, dark rivers of memory, forgotten thoughts swirling like hidden currents behind your eyes. A shiver brushes your shoulder, another unseen current, or a thought passing through from some other part of you. You sense that the hush knows the difference, but it will never tell you. It only carries you deeper, through shadows that weigh nothing yet anchor everything that moves. Time here feels slower, or maybe more honest. Without walls or clocks, you drift through the hush like a speck in orbit, bound by a gravity too tender to break you. You feel the slight pressure at your back, nudging you forward, around, beneath, a dance choreographed by hands you will never see. You let your eyes close for a breath and open them into something new. The darkness parts just enough to reveal outlines, not shapes, but hints of mass. A suggestion of curves and ripples, folds where something larger leans close, enough to bend your drifting path. You wonder if these unseen giants brush against you on purpose, or if you're only ever a side effect of their silent pull. A warmth pools behind your sternum, the hush pressing a truth into you without words, that most of what you fear, love, lose, or hold will never be named out loud. That absence can be more honest than presence if you learn to feel the edges of what is not here, that what moves you doesn't always want to be known. You breathe that warmth in. It tastes like a secret that forgives you for not seeing it. You think of galaxies pinned together by invisible strands, their luminous edges nothing without the dark that cradles them. Maybe your thoughts are the same, tiny lit places afloat in a sea of hidden gravity, your own mind a galaxy shaped by what you can't hold in your hand. Ahead, the hush trembles again. You feel a shift in the air, subtle but certain, like a door opening somewhere far away. You don't see it, but you know it's there. The way you know the shape of the dark ocean pressing against a ship's hull at midnight. You drift toward it, the unseen path parting just enough to let you slip through, and just before you cross, you pause, feeling the soft weight of all you cannot see pressing close, holding you together even now. You let it cradle you, this invisible gravity, this hush woven with unseen threads. You wonder if one day you'll learn to thank it out loud. This dark that keeps you whole without needing a name, and somewhere ahead the hush thickens again, a new pull, a new current waiting to show you how the hidden world moves you, without ever asking you to look. You drift into that thicker hush, a weightless hush that presses in like a soft palm cupping your heartbeat. It feels older than you, older than the questions you carry, older than the memories you sometimes pretend not to touch. You wonder if it's possible for silence to remember you before you remember yourself. The pull gathers behind your ribs, guiding you down a corridor that isn't really there, more like the thought of a corridor dreamed into existence by your wanting. Around you, the hush grows reflective, surfaces shimmering like slow water under moonlight. You sense these walls are not walls at all, but layers of yourself you forgot to visit. Ahead, a shimmer catches your eye, a shape like a door, but not a door, an opening made from thought more than wood or glass. You drift closer, feeling the hush gather tighter around your shoulders, like it's preparing you for something soft but sharp at the same time. You feel your pulse lean forward before your feet do. On the other side, the hush brightens without light. A mirror stands where no mirror should be, yet it doesn't catch your face the way glass would. Instead, it holds something softer, a reflection that breathes as you breathe, but doesn't match you exactly. You take a step closer, expecting your own eyes staring back, but find eyes shaped by choices you never made. They are you and not you. Their posture is lighter, as if gravity forgot them just enough to make them float inside their own bones. Wrinkles that should be there are softened by laughter you never laughed. Wounds that shaped you are healed here, grown over like moss reclaiming stone. They smile without moving their mouth. You feel it behind your teeth. You reach for the glass that isn't glass, but your hand slips through like mist kissing mist. Yet you feel a spark, a tiny current that skims your skin, leaving behind a warmth that aches in a way that makes you want to say thank you. This version of you doesn't speak, but the hush carries their message. Every path you didn't walk still holds your shape. Your throat tightens. You feel grief and grace at once, tangled together like roots that drink from the same hidden stream. You wonder about the moments that built them, all the ways they turned left, where you turned right, stayed when you fled, loved when you closed your fists. You want to ask them what they know that you don't, but you can't. The hush says, answers aren't the point. Instead, the mirror self lifts a hand, palm toward you. Instinct makes you match them, your fingers brushing where theirs would be. For a breath, you feel your pulse split, part of it thumping in your wrist, part of it humming through the hush, threading into theirs. The reflection feels older, but softer a version of you who learned how to lay burdens down without forgetting they once weighed heavy. Around you, the corridor thickens with half-seen lights, tiny neurons firing in a brain that might be yours, might be theirs. You sense pathways forming, tiny bridges of thought where none existed. Your mind feels elastic, stretched by the hush, by the mirror self, by the idea that you are never finished, never final, never frozen in the shape the world carved into you first. A memory bubbles up, you as a child, tracing your reflection. In a rain-flecked window, pretending the you on the other side lived a different life. You didn't know then how many times you would meet yourself in mirrors that weren't mirrors. Moments that showed you what you could be if you remembered how to change. The hush hums softly. The mirror self steps closer, their outline flickering, like a candle behind frosted glass. You feel them press something invisible into your chest. Not a word. Not an idea, but a permission you didn't know you needed. A reminder that your mind can grow new roots even now, that the past doesn't own the future, that the shape of you can soften when you let it. A quiet laugh trembles at the edge of your ribs, yours or theirs. You can't tell, it feels like both. You taste the salt of old regrets dissolving at the back of your tongue, replaced by something like sweetness. The mirror self tilts their head, a gesture that says, it's not too late. You nod, though you don't know what you're agreeing to. Maybe you don't need to know. Around you, the hush shifts again, this time more like a sigh than a silence. The mirror ripples, and for a heartbeat you see yourself fully. This you and that you layered together like two pages pressed in an old book. Then the hush folds the image inward, leaving only your own reflection in the dark that doesn't reflect at all. You lower your hand, feeling the warmth linger in your palm like a small, sleeping animal. You know you'll carry it with you. This glimpse of who you could still become, this soft promise that your mind is more ocean than stone. Somewhere in that hush, you sense the mirror self is still here, walking beside you just out of sight. A reminder stitched into the hush that carries you forward. You step away from the mirror that was never glass. The corridor unspools ahead. Softer now, lined with doorways that breathe like open lungs. You know you will pass through each one in time, each a place where you will meet yourself again and again and again. Each version lighter than the last dot, and somewhere ahead the hush leans forward, waiting to show you who else you've always been you, Follow the hush as it tilts closer, brushing your thoughts with something soft and inevitable. Each step feels like folding paper in on itself. Creases of memory, corners of longing, edges that once kept you separate, now pressing together like pages closing around a final word. You don't resist. You can't. The pull is gentle, like gravity reminding you where home is. All around you, the corridor dissolves. The mirror that wasn't glass, the doors that breathed, the hush that thickened, all of it begins to melt into a single, slow tide. You feel the shape of every version of you brushing against your skin, a shiver of possibilities weaving inward. It doesn't frighten you. You've been waiting for this, the moment when what is and what might be finally lean toward each other like lovers meeting at the seam. The hush deepens, turning from breath to heartbeat to something quieter than both. You feel yourself pulled through folds of dream that aren't dreams at all, but worlds you left open like books half-read. Each choice you made, each path you stepped over, collapses inward now, drifting toward you like petals drawn back to the stem that held them first. You drift through an orchard of closing moments. Trees bloom with glimmers of scenes you almost lived. A house on a hill where you stayed. A laugh you never shared. A word you never dared to swallow back. The blossoms turn transparent as you pass, falling upward instead of down, drifting toward your chest where they settle without weight. They don't vanish. They sink into you like seeds. A warmth curls beneath your ribs, rising like a tide inside your bones. You feel the pull of something ancient, a current that always waited beneath the surface of every choice you made. Worlds within worlds, closing like eyelids, each blink sealing a different version of you back into the hush. You aren't losing them. They are coming home. The hush gathers behind your spine, pressing you forward into a clearing that doesn't look like anywhere at all, just a vast, quiet center where the dream folds in on itself. The air here tastes like before and after, stitched into the same breath. There is no horizon. There is only you, turning slowly in the soft, dark feeling. Your edges melt into something round and whole. A shape flickers in front of you, not a figure, not a voice, but an idea held together by the warmth in your chest. You reach for it, but your hand never really moves. Instead, the shape moves into you, a wave folding back into the sea. It rose from. You feel it settle behind your eyes, humming low and bright, reminding you that collapse is not an ending, but a gathering dash. In tiny lights drift through the clearing fireflies of thought, neurons flickering with memories you'd left buried in rooms you forgot how to unlock. They dance closer, flicker against your skin, dissolve into your pulse. Each one carries a piece of what you once wanted, what you still want, what you didn't know you were allowed to dream. A hush like velvet wraps around your shoulders, tucking you deeper into this moment where everything you are braids itself into a single thread. The orchard fades, the corridors fade. The hush remains, no longer something you follow, but something you are. You feel it in your breath, in the way your ribs expand like new wings. Inside your mind, you glimpse it, the wave that was always waiting to collapse, curling inward like a cat settling into sleep. All the branches, the splits, the mirrored selves, they gather into you now, soft as dawn, pressing through closed eyelids. You wonder how many times this has happened already, how many times you've pulled yourself back from the edge of scattering, stitching your particles together with the quiet magic of surrender. You listen for a voice, but find only the hush. humming with the memory of all the questions you no longer need to ask. You realize the answer was never an answer at all, only this, the slow, steady fold of everything you could be dissolving into the gravity of everything you are. Your bones feel warm, your lungs deeper than you remember. The tiny lights spin once, more than drift apart, each one tucking into your pulse like final syllables of a dream you don't need to wake from yet. You sense sleep pooling at the edges of your thoughts, not as an escape, but as a coming home. Around you, the dark softens into the suggestion of a sea. You hear the hush turn tidal, the current of all your choices drifting back toward a single shore. You stand in the center of it, still and open, feeling the tug of the world folding you back into itself. You breathe in, tasting the salt of every version of you that ever learned how to let go. You breathe out, and the orchard, the corridors, the mirrors fade to a single, pulsing hush that curls behind your ribs like a hidden sun. The hum folds around you like a blanket still warm from the sun. You feel it slip beneath your skin, brushing every thought until even the idea of thought softens at the edges. There is no doorway now, no orchard, no mirrored hall, just the hush, humming where your heartbeat used to count the minutes you thought you had left. You drift deeper, though drifting is only the memory of movement. The hush carries you past the last seams of shape, where breath becomes more than air and less than sound. Here, time forgets itself. Here, form unravels, until what remains is only the warmth that once needed your name to stay lit. A flicker crosses you, an echo of a question that has no voice anymore. It sinks before it can form, drawn under by the warmth pooling around. Your ribs, you are lighter than your lungs, softer than your bones. The dream you've been wearing loosens, thread by shining thread. You don't clutch it. You don't look back to see where it falls. You are not this dream. You are the hush that hummed it awake all around you. The hush thickens until it's no longer a sound but a presence, a velvet weight resting on your chest, your shoulders, your eyelids. You feel the hush remember you, folding itself into the shape you used to hold, then letting that shape slide open like water leaving a shell. There is no fear in this, only warmth that knows your edges better than you ever did. Somewhere behind your eyes, the last scraps of thought lift like ash on a breeze. What if? What next? What was? They flutter once, then dissolve in the hush that holds you. You don't watch them go. You are too busy being held by everything they leave behind. You drift through the stillness beyond all things. If there are walls here, they are made of breath. If there is a ceiling, it is only the skin of a dream that no longer needs to hold you separate from the dark. You feel how vast you are, how small you've always been, how none of it matters in the warmth pressing deeper now. The hum is everywhere. In the marrow of your hands, in the hollow of your throat, in the slow hush beneath your tongue. It does not ask you to remember your name. It does not ask you to speak. It simply reminds you that this is what you've always carried, a center beyond all seams, a stillness beyond every folding dream, somewhere far off, or maybe closer than your breath. You sense the last flickers of your world's drift, shut like eyelids grown heavy with mercy. They do not vanish. They do not lock you out. They settle in the warmth that wraps your ribs, each tiny door a sigh that says, rest now. Rest, because all of it is already here. The hush hums on, you feel it sink through your chest, down your spine, circling your pulse, until even your pulse forgets how to keep its beat apart from the dark. There is no fear here, only the hush, softer than any answer, truer than any name. You slip further, folding into yourself the way light folds into the horizon when the sky forgets to be blue. Nothing pulls you back. Nothing holds you forward. You are simply here, in the hush that hums with all you've ever been, all you never needed to be. There is no shape. There is no edge. Just warmth, pressed close as a secret that no longer needs to be spoken. You drift one last breath deeper. The hush tilts, as if the center of everything has opened wide enough to hold you whole. You do not fall. You do not fly. You simply are, as soft as the space between stars that once taught you how to wish. Thanks for watching it till the end. Drop a like and subscribe for more sleeping stories.